In this video, I show that we can think about equilibrium in the aggregate expenditure model or in the Keynesian model two different ways, and that thinking about equilibrium in either way yields exactly the same outcome, so exactly the same equilibrium output level. So we can think about equilibrium output in the Keynesian model as being where output, which we will call Y, is equal to demand for goods and services, which we call Z. So in equilibrium, output's going to be equal to demand. Or we can think about equilibrium as being where total savings in the economy, and we're going to call total savings, that's going to be the sum of private savings, which is the savings of individuals, and public savings, which is government savings. So the sum of those two forms of savings is total savings, where total savings is equal to investment. So these are identical conditions. So total savings in this case is going to be private savings, which we will call S, plus public savings. Public savings is just going to be the difference between what government brings in the form of taxes and what they spend in the form of expenditures. So this is going to be T then, that's tax revenue minus G. So T minus G is the difference between tax revenue and government spending. This is public savings, is going to be equal to investment. So I'm going to show both of these conditions. So we'll start with the output equal demand. So demand in the economy is defined as spending on final goods and services. And so the spending on final goods and services, which we call Z, is going to be the sum of consumption spending plus investment spending plus government purchases. And now if this were an open economy, this would include net exports as well. But we're going to stick with a closed economy here. So we only have three sources of spending on final goods and services: consumers, investors, and government. And furthermore, we're going to assume that consumption is a linear function depending on disposable income. So we're going to rewrite this saying that C is some parameter C naught, right? This is really just the vertical intercept of the consumption function, plus C1, this is our marginal propensity to consume, minus or C1 times YD. YD here is disposable income. So this is our consumption function. Simply says that consumption depends on disposable income, at least part of it, and then some, that C naught, is how much we spend even if we have no disposable income, plus investment plus government purchases. Now YD, disposable income, is just income minus taxes. So we can rewrite this as C naught plus C1 times Y minus T plus I plus G. And we can go ahead and distribute out that C1. And so we get C naught plus C1Y minus C1T plus I plus G. So there we have demand in the economy using this simple linear equation for consumption and holding investment and government purchases as fixed or exogenous for the time being. So now in equilibrium, we are going to set output equal to demand. So in equilibrium, output Y is equal to demand Z. So that means that in equilibrium, we can write the following. Output is equal to C naught plus C1Y minus C1T plus I plus G. And then we just solve for output. We have a Y here, and we have this C1Y term. Let's bring that to the other side. We do so, we get Y minus C1Y is equal to C naught plus I plus G. And now I'm going to subtract away that C1T. I'm going to do it here at the end. And now we just need to factor out this 1 minus C1 to get Y by itself. So we get Y times 1 minus C1. That should be equivalent to Y minus C1Y is equal to C naught plus I plus G minus C1T. And so then Let me move this up just a little bit. Okay, and so solving for y, we get that y is equal to, and we're going to divide by this 1 minus c1 or multiply by 1 over that, which is what we will do. So 1 over 1 minus c1, that's our spending multiplier in this Keynesian model, times c naught plus I plus g minus c1t. So there we have solve for equilibrium output in the Keynesian model using the equilibrium condition that output equals demand. So now what I want to do is I want to solve for equilibrium output using the other condition. And so we're going to start by defining private saving. So we're going to define this private saving S term here. And private saving is just going to be how much money individuals have that they don't spend on consumption. So there's two things you can do with your income. You can spend it or you can save it. So saving then, private saving, is going to be income or output, right? Technically it's disposable income or output, so that's going to be y minus t, income minus taxes, then minus what is spent, right? So let's subtract away what gets spent on consumption, so minus c. So this says that savings is what is left over of your disposable income after you subtract away consumption expenditure. All right, so there we have it. And remember, we are saying that consumption is C naught plus C1 times y minus t. So we can rewrite this. So y minus t minus C naught minus C1 times y minus t. All right. So now, remember, because we're subtracting consumption, we carry that minus sign. So that's why there's not a plus C1 times y minus t. And so we can multiply out this C1. We can write this as y minus t minus C naught minus C1y plus C1t. All right, we've got minus C1 times minus t. So that's going to give us a plus C1t. And so this is equal to savings. All right, now in equilibrium, and this is what I want to show, in equilibrium, we get exactly the same thing if our equilibrium condition is that total savings equals investment. So in equilibrium, investment, I, is equal to total savings, and that's going to be private saving, the saving of individuals, plus public savings, which is the difference between tax expenditure, tax revenue rather, and government expenditure. So if that's true, then we have investment equals saving. So saving here is going to be, private saving is going to be y minus t minus c naught minus c1y plus c1t. Now, let's move some stuff around to give us a little more room. Now we need to add public saving to private saving, and so we're going to tack on here this plus t minus g. Okay, and now we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to solve for equilibrium output, so we're trying to solve for y. So if you notice, we have here a minus t and a plus t, so let's go ahead and cancel those out. Right, we're subtracting t and adding it so that on net has no effect. We'll cancel them out. Let's add our minus c naught to both sides. So in that case we have, let me switch back to white. So c naught plus I, and we can add this g to both sides, plus g. And now we have this minus, or this plus c1t. We'll subtract that from both sides. All right, so we have c naught plus I plus g minus c1t. And then on the other side here, that leaves us with y minus c1y. So we can factor out this C1 and pull out this C1, and then we're left with C naught plus I plus G minus C1 T is equal to Y times 1 minus C1. And then we divide by 1 minus C1 or multiply by 1 over that, which is what we will do. And if we do that, we get 1 over 1 minus C1 times C naught plus I plus G minus C1T is equal to Y. And if you look, you will notice that we have exactly the same formula for equilibrium output, treating the equilibrium condition as output equaling demand. Right? Y equals 1 over 1 minus C1 times C naught plus I plus G minus C1T, as we do when we use the equilibrium condition that investment equals private plus public savings. So these two are exactly the same, meaning that in this aggregate expenditure model, we can think about equilibrium either way. In equilibrium, the economy's output of goods and services will be equal to the demand for goods and services, or the spending for goods and services, final goods and services, or we can think about it as being that in equilibrium, overall savings in the economy, private plus public savings, is equal to investment. Thank you for watching.